For most of the modern jet age, the global fighter market has basically been a private club. The United States, France, the UK, and its European partners, Russia, most recently China. If you wanted a real combat aircraft, you knocked on one of those doors and hoped the politics lined up. South Korea decided it didn't want to keep knocking. Its answer is the KF-21 Boramae, a fighter built to deliver a lot of what the world's top combat aircraft offer, minus the eye-watering price tag, the export red tape, and the political strings that tend to come attached. So which is it? One of the more genuinely compelling fighters to show up this decade, or a jet stuck in the awkward middle seat between 4th generation and 5th generation air combat? Before we get into it, if you're finding value in these breakdowns, hitting like and subscribing to Reach Defense Media genuinely helps us keep putting this type of coverage out. We'd really appreciate it. Officially, the KF-21 Boramae is a 4.5 generation multi-role fighter, built by Korea Aerospace Industries to eventually replace South Korea's aging F4's and F35's, and to anchor the country's much bigger aerospace ambitions. After years of development trials, it's now in serial production and entering frontline service with the Republic of Korea Air Force. That's worth pausing on for a second, because building an advanced supersonic fighter from scratch is not a weekend project. Only a handful of countries on Earth have managed it. South Korea just joined that very exclusive list. So what's actually interesting under the hood? The KF-21 runs on two GE-414 engines, which means strong thrust, solid acceleration, and the built-in peace of mind of having a second engine, if the first one has a bad day. Compared to a lot of single-engine competitors, it leaves real room to grow. More weapons, more upgrades, more of whatever the next decade demands. The more interesting story, though, is what's stuffed inside it. A domestically developed AESA radar, infrared search and track, modern electronic warfare systems, and a digital cockpit built for how air combat actually works now, not how it worked in 1985. Unlike the 4th generation jets it's replacing, the Boramae was designed from day one around network-centric warfare. Sensors, data links, electronic warfare, and missile integration that all talk to each other instead of operating like separate gadgets bolted onto the same airframe. Then there's the weapons loadout, and this is where it gets genuinely impressive. The KF-21 has already shown it plays nicely with some serious Western hardware. Meteor beyond visual range missiles, IRST, short-range missiles, precision-guided ground munitions, and it's slated to eventually carry MBDA Spear missile family, alongside Korea's own homegrown missile programs. That matters more than it might sound like, because modern dogfights are increasingly decided before anyone's close enough to see the whites of the other pilot's eyes. Whoever detects first and fires first usually wins. Visual range combat is becoming something of a relic. This is exactly why the KF-21 is turning heads among export customers. Picture the dilemma a mid-sized Air Force faces. Buy the F-35 and accept the eye-watering sustainment bill, buy the Rafale and pay a premium, buy the Eurofighter and wade into whatever political complexity comes with that particular customer relationship, or settle for something older and hope nobody tests you too hard. The KF-21 is angling for the gap in the middle. Modern enough to actually compete, likely cheaper to buy and keep flying, and coming from a country a lot of buyers see as refreshingly unburdened by political baggage that follows some of the bigger suppliers around. Now the part where we manage expectations a little. The KF-21 is not an F-35, not yet anyway. The big risk on the current Block 1 aircraft is stealth. It's got stealth shaping and radar reduction touches, sure, but it's missing the internal weapons bay that actually defines a true 5th generation fighter. Most of its weapons still ride externally, which unfortunately is exactly the sort of thing that makes a radar operator's day a little easier. That's the whole reason analysts keep calling it 4.5 generation instead of 5th gen. It's dramatically harder to spot than older jets, but not in the same stealth conversation as the F-35. There are other growing pains too, the kind every new fighter program has to live through. Production aircraft only started just rolling off the line, and operational service is brand new. Unlike the Rafale, Eurofighter F35's, the KF-21 doesn't have decades of deployment behind it, hasn't flown through multiple wars, and hasn't built up for the long combat resume that makes skeptical buyers uncomfortable. None of that's unusual for a fighter this young, it's just a price of being new. The roadmap ahead though is where it genuinely gets interesting. South Korea is planning multiple upgrade blocks. Block 1 is built around air-to-air combat, Block 2 brings in stronger air-to-ground capability. Beyond that, future versions are expected to bring internal weapons bay, a lower radar signature, more autonomy, manned-unmanned teaming, and a slow creep toward 5th and eventually 6th generation territory. In other words, what's flying today might just be the rough draft. And that's really the bigger story here. The KF-21 isn't just a new jet on the runway. It's South Korea announcing fairly loudly that it's done being a customer in the global fighter jet market and ready to be a supplier instead. A country that used to buy advanced aircraft from everyone else just started building its own. Nobody can say for sure whether the Boramae becomes a real export hit or whether it ever seriously dents F-35, Rafale, or Eurofighter sales on the world stage. But one thing's no longer up for debate. This isn't a prototype gathering dust in a hangar anymore. It's a production fighter, flying frontline missions, and one of the more significant new names to crash the global fighter party in decades. If you like content like this, make sure you subscribe to Reach Defense Media for more. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.